You're going to have to wait about 15 minutes for Stugotz's all-time Pacers team, which is probably going to be a little bit harder than his all-time Sixers team. He's been making lists since we were quarantined. That right there is Finnegan. That is Stugotz's dog, Finny. Mike Leach, we've been trying to reach him, and I'd like to talk to him every single day for as long as he'll have us or until time runs out. So Mike Leach is the Mississippi State football coach, and how are you hanging in there, Coach? What's going on? Are you quarantined? Or you like to go on long walks? You like to rollerblade as well. Are you locked up in your house, or are you getting outside?
No, I get outside some. I'm in Key West, and because we sent everybody home, so and this is the only house I own right now. So, but I'm going to buy one in Starkville, and then. So I'm pretty, it's, we're not real extreme here, but there's no restaurants open other than takeout. The thing that surprised me a little bit is they even closed the beaches. I mean, that, to me, it seems like fresh air, good exercise, and salt water would be good against this stuff. But it's very quiet down here right now.
What is your life like in Key West? Do you live on the water? Do you do much in the way of fishing?
No, I'm about 4 blocks from Old Town, 4 blocks from the Gulf, and just got a bungalow that's sort of in the middle of a block that's in the middle of those kind of older Victorian-looking houses. And no, it's good. It's quiet and it's quiet, small but private. And you read, you do your phone calls. That's what you find. You talk about. You do a lot of work on the phone. Of course, nowadays more and more, it's all on the phone and the computer, and the phone and the computer are more or less the same thing. So. But I'll tell you this, as far as decompressing, collecting your thoughts, kind of visualizing and formulating, what's next, and organizing how you're going to go about it. The most important thing with all this is I think you want to make the most out of your time and make sure that it's beneficial, and make sure that, it's not just a loss. You may not be doing exactly what you want to be doing, but it can be incredibly productive time. And the other thing, even though the family's not right here with us, it's kind of, and not just ours, but other people that I've talked to, it's kind of drawn families a little closer together. We'll talk to one another about once a day, check in, how's this, what's that? Oh, really? That type of thing. And then, so I do think that, there's a benefit to this if we allow it to be, You
love your learning, so are you doing much reading as you're holed up at home?
I'm doing some reading. I'm reading a book on, which I don't have the title in front of me. It's one of those nebulous titles that, don't necessarily match the book, but or that you wouldn't think of. I'm reading a book on CIA agent and kind of his path. I'm reading a book on Mississippi. I'm reading a book. There's another book down there I'm reading. What is it? Come and Go from the book. I got kind of a Hemingway book of a collection of stories and people's recollections. And so I kind of read as I go. And then, of course, there's a bunch on the net. I've gotten to where, with regard to coronavirus stuff, I make sure that I do not sit in front of the TV because they'll coronavirus you with information until it drives you crazy. I'll watch, I try to watch 1 hour a day, just general news. I say news, it's not going to be news, it's going to be coronavirus. That's all it's going to be. Won't be any news, just be coronavirus. And so then I'll try to get one segment or so with using the fast forward just to make sure I don't miss any key announcements. And then the other thing is, for good or for bad, your friends are going to inundate you with one thing after the next, because the biggest thing that I think is very important is to not let it monopolize your whole day. Go do something productive, whether it's your own thought meditation, exercise. Great time to get on an exercise routine, which I always say I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'll get on the bike, make my rounds, go on patrol, so that part's good.
What do you mean, go on patrol, make your rounds? What are you doing? What do you mean? That's what you do on the bike?
You just saddle up and ride around and, just do a loop, do a lap, and, make it your business to see what's going on out there, So that's what I tell my wife. I'm Sharon, saddle up. We're going on patrol. And, so then she has her gear and saddles up, and off we go,
Mike Leach with us here on ESPN Radio. By the way, I'm with you on that Hemingway guy. Fantastic. My favorite author, one of my favorite books. Mike, I imagine you, now I'm guessing most people don't, but I imagine that you are an amazing chef, an amazing cook. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you are. I was the oldest of six, so I did know how to cook. And to be honest with you, I did know how to cook. And cooked meals not just for myself, but my brothers and sisters, some growing up. And so when I got to college, I did already know how to cook. As far as the cook stuff, I can't do anything like, there's nothing where you'll say, oh God, you got to have Mike's, scrambled eggs. I mean, you don't do any of that. I mean, they're edible, and none of it's bad, but none of it's great. I actually taught my wife to cook, who now has developed into a really good cook. She's taken some of this stuff and improved on it. She was the youngest of 5 girls, so she didn't do where I did quite a bit of cooking. She didn't do hardly any. You got 5 girls, and you're the youngest one. I mean, the cooking role's been filled long before you get up to the stove. So, I basically taught her to cook, and then it didn't take her long to take over altogether. And then, I have thought about, there's a guy, a booster, a Mississippi State booster, who's a great cook, does all kinds of the Cajun stuff, gumbo, all that stuff. And he's threatening to teach me to cook, so I probably ought to take him up on that, if I get a chance.
Has America made 5 good football movies, Mike?
Probably not. Football movies are the hardest ones to make. They're definitely the hardest to make. Football movies are the hardest to make. And by far the most challenging. Doesn't diminish the game at all. Doesn't diminish what it takes to play it by any stretch of the imagination. If anything, it illustrates it. The best movies are for sport movies and baseball movies and boxing movies.
What would you say is the best football movie ever made?
I think Friday Night Lights. Peter Berg's Friday Night Lights, I think, is. Managed to carry the story, and the hardest part of all is to identify the people who's doing what, because, just seeing a number, you can't see faces, there's helmets on. The football movies are fine up until you get to where there's the action on the field. That's where it gets lost. That's where it gets unclear. That's where, it's hard to show the emotions and things like that. I think that's the best one. And then, what's the old one? The Notre Dame one. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one. But football movies are difficult.
Which is the football movie that you believe has had the most realistic action in it, that felt the most like football?
Friday Night Lights. The other one that I thought was good on the sideline, although I didn't like it as much as a movie, and I think Al Pacino is just a tremendous actor. He was the head coach in it.
Given Sunday.
Yes.
But I thought he was very miscast. You know, I mean, I'm actually watching a thing with him in it right now, which is pretty good. Called he does a good job in it. Called Hunters.
It's great.
Called Hunters, and but I just didn't see him as a football coach, you know. But I thought any given Sunday, there's a scene or two with regard to the intensity of the sideline, the organized confusion, the bright colors, and the explosion of the noise and color at the same time on the sideline. That I thought really was a really good illustration of what a football sideline and just the game intensity and trying to sort it out was like. I thought Jim Brown did a really good job as a coach, which was, you know, you say he's got experience, but well, it's been so many decades. So I thought he was really quite impressive. I thought, of course, Al, I thought did a great job, except I thought it was just miscast. I thought, you know, he should be like the you know, the owner or something like that, you know.
Mike, we're going to call you. We're going to call you again tomorrow. Okay. I want to continue this conversation. If you're on your patrol bike, that's fine. We'll just pick up your phone. Okay. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. You call me tomorrow at 12:30.
Sure. 12:30 is when we'll call you.
Delightful.
All right.
All right. Cool.
See you.